Those storms are part of the same system that pummeled the Midwest yesterday and tonight.
Wind started howling and you could hear the roar coming.
America is being shaken by a chain of disturbing events unfolding without pause. In West Virginia, nearly 4.5 inches of rain reportedly fell in only 37 minutes, cutting off communities and forcing more than 100 water rescues. In Texas, a magnitude 5.1 earthquake rattled homes as another storm threat approached. Above Philadelphia, a concentrated green light glowed through the clouds, while thousands of blackbirds twisted over Mexico City like a living wave. Then, asperitas clouds turned the sky above Oklahoma into an upside-down ocean, as volcanic forces stirred beneath the sea and division deepened across the nation. Are these separate events, or warnings forming a pattern? Watch until the end, like, subscribe, and comment which sign concerns you most. The first warning began when the creeks of West Virginia suddenly rose above their banks. At first, the water covered only the lowest roads, but within minutes, it rushed toward neighborhoods with frightening speed, leaving families almost no time to understand what was happening. Approximately 4.5 inches of rain reportedly fell in only 37 minutes. Streets quickly became powerful rivers. Cars were trapped, businesses disappeared beneath muddy water, and homes that had felt safe moments earlier were suddenly surrounded. Families rushed to higher floors as the current pushed through doors and filled their lower rooms. As entire communities became isolated, emergency teams moved in from every direction. Rescue boats traveled through flooded streets, helicopters searched from above, and drones helped locate people trapped behind rising water. Emergency vehicles struggled to reach areas where roads had vanished. More than 100 water rescues revealed how little time residents had before the disaster cut them off completely. Luke 21 verse 25 speaks of distress as the seas and waves roar. In West Virginia, the roaring water became a painful reminder that human security can disappear in minutes. The lesson is not to live in fear, but to remain watchful, value every peaceful day, help those in danger, and trust God when human strength is no longer enough. As West Virginia counted the cost of the rising water, the ground beneath Texas suddenly began to move. Near Amarillo, a reported magnitude 5.1 earthquake shook homes across the Panhandle. Windows rattled, furniture shifted, and frightened residents stepped outside as the tremor traveled toward Oklahoma City and Tulsa. Then the shaking stopped, but the fear remained. Families moved carefully through their homes, checking walls, foundations, gas lines, and anything that might have been damaged. Authorities watched seismic monitors for possible aftershocks, while every creak beneath the floor made residents wonder whether another jolt was coming. But before Texas could fully understand the danger below, a second threat began forming above. Tropical Storm Bertha was approaching, carrying the possibility of heavy rain, strong winds, flash flooding, and power outages. People who had just finished inspecting earthquake damage now began securing windows, gathering supplies, and following weather alerts. The situation was becoming more disturbing with every passing hour. One danger had risen from beneath the ground, while another was moving through the sky. Texas was caught between two forces that no human being could stop. And when the earth shakes while storms gather overhead, it becomes difficult not to remember the warning found in Matthew 24:7. Jesus spoke of earthquakes in various places, not to make people panic, but to teach them to recognize instability and remain spiritually awake. These events may have natural explanations, but they still remind us how quickly safety can disappear. Leave a prayer for Texas in the comments, so every family facing this danger knows they are not standing alone. While Texas watched the ground and sky, another mystery was already unfolding above Philadelphia. Witnesses reportedly noticed a powerful glow spreading through a low layer of clouds. At first, many assumed it was lightning, or a reflection from the buildings below. But the light did not flash and vanish. It remained fixed over one part of the city, shining with such intensity that people across several streets began looking upward. Then, the glow started to change. Its center grew brighter, while the edges slowly expanded through the clouds. The surrounding sky continued moving with the wind, yet the green formation appeared to hold its position. It did not behave like a normal storm flash, and it did not fade like an ordinary reflection. For several long moments, it seemed suspended above the city. Traffic began to slow. Drivers lowered their windows and stared through their windshields. Pedestrians stopped in the middle of crowded sidewalks, raising their phones as the strange color deepened overhead. Small groups gathered beneath the glow, trying to understand what they were seeing. Some witnesses reportedly began to pray as the atmosphere shifted from curiosity to unease. There are several possible explanations: a powerful laser, reflected city lights, atmospheric moisture, dust particles, drones, or camera exposure may have created the effect. Green light can spread through clouds and appear larger, brighter, or closer than its true source. Yet the duration, concentrated shape, and unusual color left one question unanswered. Luke 21 verse 11 speaks of fearful sights and great signs from heaven. The verse does not prove that every mysterious light is supernatural, but it reminds us how quickly the sky can interrupt an ordinary day and force an entire city to look upward. Was this only light moving through the atmosphere, or a warning Philadelphia was meant to notice? Tell us what you believe in the comments. But the sky had not finished drawing attention. Above Mexico City, the first birds appeared in scattered groups, rising from rooftops, trees, and crowded streets. Within minutes, thousands had joined them, forming an enormous black mass that moved across the city like a living storm. At first, the flock stretched into a long ribbon. Then, it suddenly folded inward, becoming so dense that parts of the sky seemed to disappear. The formation expanded again, twisted sharply, and divided into several dark streams before joining together once more. From below, it no longer looked like individual birds. It resembled smoke being pulled by an invisible force. As the moving shadow passed overhead, sunlight briefly faded across buildings and roads. Drivers slowed to watch. People stepped out of shops and pointed their phones toward the sky. Some expected the flock to scatter, but every turn appeared coordinated. Thousands of wings changed direction almost simultaneously, creating waves that rolled from one end of the formation to the other. Then the birds suddenly dropped lower. Their formation broke apart as hundreds of them rushed toward the streets below. Some swooped dangerously close to pedestrians, striking at raised hands, bags, and umbrellas as people tried to protect their faces. Others collided in the air, chased one another between buildings, and fought over rooftops in a burst of confusion. The sound of flapping wings and sharp cries filled entire blocks, turning an ordinary afternoon into a scene of panic. Drivers closed their windows, while pedestrians ran into shops and building entrances for cover. Even after the streets began to empty, the birds continued circling aggressively, diving toward anyone who remained outside before rising again into the dark mass overhead. Scientists may explain such behavior through fear, competition for food, protection of nesting areas, loud noises, nearby predators, or sudden changes in weather and pressure. When large flocks become stressed or disoriented, their coordinated movement can quickly collapse into aggression and confusion. But the sudden change carried a disturbing reminder. Animals can react strongly when their environment is disrupted, sometimes before humans recognize the cause. The black wave above Mexico City was not proof of anything supernatural. Yet one question remained. What had caused thousands of birds to turn against people, and even against one another, at the same time? The birds disappeared, but the sky above Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, kept moving. Soon, dark clouds began spreading across the horizon in a formation unlike any ordinary storm. Within minutes, they stretched from one side of Oklahoma City to the other, folding into deep ridges, sinking troughs, and enormous rolling waves. People began leaving buildings and gathering along sidewalks to watch. Some pointed upward in disbelief. Others quickly returned indoors, convinced that a severe storm was about to strike. Yet there was no thunder, no lightning split the clouds, and no destructive wind had reached the streets below. That silence made the formation even more unsettling. As the waves grew darker, the sky appeared lower, almost close enough to touch the rooftops. Streetlights turned on beneath the sudden darkness, while the enormous cloud structure continued shifting overhead like something alive. Meteorologists identify formations like these as asperitas clouds. They can develop when turbulence moves through layers of moist air, while winds travel at different speeds and directions. Atmospheric waves then shape the underside of the cloud layer into dramatic ridges and valleys. Though frightening in appearance, asperitas clouds do not always produce dangerous weather. Still, standing beneath such a sky can make human certainty feel very small. Job 3629 asks who can fully understand the spreading of the clouds. The question does not reject scientific explanations. It reminds us that even when we understand how a formation develops, creation can still leave us humbled. While the sky above Oklahoma resembled an upside-down ocean, the real ocean was beginning to move. Far beneath the surface, monitoring stations reportedly detected clusters of small earthquakes around several submarine volcanic zones. At first, the tremors were weak and scattered. Then they began arriving closer together. Water temperatures rose, gas escaped through cracks in the seafloor, and dark plumes appeared above areas that had remained quiet for years. What happened next could not be seen clearly from the coast. Deep underwater, volcanic pressure forced its way through fractured rock. Explosions released boiling steam, ash, sulfur, and broken stone into the surrounding water. Powerful pressure waves spread outward through the darkness, disturbing currents and forcing marine life away from the eruption zone. In some areas, the sea above began bubbling as discolored water slowly reached the surface. Researchers watched the instruments carefully. An underwater eruption does not automatically create a tsunami. Many remain too small or too deep to produce serious coastal danger. But the risk can increase when part of a volcano collapses, when the seafloor suddenly shifts, or when a large volume of water is violently displaced. That possibility changed the atmosphere along nearby coastlines. Authorities reviewed evacuation routes. Boats were warned to avoid restricted waters, and coastal communities waited for updates. The ocean still looked calm from the shore, but beneath that calm surface, heat, gas, and pressure continued building through layers of rock. This is what made the event so unsettling. People could watch the waves and see almost nothing unusual, while enormous forces moved miles below them. The ocean covers most of the planet, yet much of its deepest terrain remains unseen and only partly understood. Fire awakening beneath the water becomes a reminder that danger does not always announce itself from above. Sometimes it begins in silence, hidden beneath a peaceful surface, gathering strength where human eyes cannot reach. When all these events are placed side by side, the warning becomes harder to ignore. Floodwaters rose in minutes, the ground shook beneath homes, strange lights appeared in the sky, enormous flocks moved like living shadows, and clouds rolled overhead like an upside-down ocean. Far below the surface, volcanic forces stirred beneath the sea, yet perhaps the most serious danger was not found in the sky, earth, or water. It was growing quietly within the human heart. Each event may have a natural explanation. Storms form, earthquakes occur, birds respond to environmental pressure, and unusual clouds develop when moisture and wind interact. Science helps us understand these processes, and we should never replace evidence with fear. But understanding how something happens does not remove the lesson it carries. These events reveal how quickly normal life can change. Roads can disappear beneath water, strong buildings can shake, a peaceful sky can become unfamiliar, and a united community can divide when anger becomes stronger than compassion. Human knowledge is valuable, but human control remains limited. The warning, therefore, is not that every disaster proves the end has arrived. The warning is that people often wait until danger becomes undeniable before examining how they are living. Scripture repeatedly calls humanity to remain watchful, humble, and prepared, not through panic, but through faith, wisdom, and love. The greatest preparation begins within. Help those facing disaster. Protect your family. Refuse to let hatred control your words. Seek truth before sharing fear. Pray before making conclusions. And remember that no nation can remain strong when compassion disappears from its people. Perhaps these events are asking one simple question. If everything familiar changed tomorrow, what would your heart be standing on? Like this video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to the channel for more stories and biblical reflections. Thank you for watching and staying with us until the end.